After an 0-2 start to the tournament, NC State's road to the bracket goes right through the heart of Texas. The number 7 seed's chances are on the ropes. An aggressive Texas team needs to bounce back after a loss to Brown, but with a team this explosive, any outcome is on the table. They spin the wheel right here on Ultiworld. Welcome, Ultimate fans, to Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the 2019 Division I College Championships. Keith Renner here with Patrick Stegemeller in Round Rock, Texas for the final round of pool play, Pat. And we've got NC State and Texas with a lot on the line.
That's right. NC State needs to win or go home. That's the only math they need to worry about. Texas still has a little bit of bacon in the fryer. If they lose huge, they could end up getting knocked out on point diff, which would be a shock after their very successful 2-0 day yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, win or go home for Texas wouldn't be a very far travel. We're just outside of Austin, but they look pretty safe, barring an epic collapse. But NC State has a lot to play for here, and that's one of the fun things about the final round of pool play is there's a lot in the air here at Round Rock. A lot of teams who still have eligibility for that championship bracket.
And NC State coming off a very disappointing 0-2 day yesterday, showing a lot of guts to come out with a close win over Iowa State this morning. They're a little depleted by injury, had some tragic medical circumstances to a team leader earlier, and for them to come out here and get a big win to send them into pre-quarters would be quite a story.
Absolutely, and NC State, both teams really have some notable injuries, but NC State even incurring some additional injury during this tournament. We see the windy Texas flag and the certainly pro-Texas crowd, although I see a pretty decent amount of red. I mean, as far as college ultimate games that aren't the semis and finals and nationals go, you're not going to see a lot of better attendance than that.
Yeah, the Texas fans have been big all day, starting with their chippy game against Brown this morning. Brown may have come out on top, but the Texas fans wouldn't let you know about it. They were making tons of noise, barking at the officials. One of them called an observer "Hey Orange" earlier, which was a nice touch that I liked. So the Texas home crowd could maybe impact the game a little bit here.
Well, the wind has certainly been a factor, as we saw the flag blowing earlier. This field may be the least of the fields at the complex, but we've more than seen it as we are underway. Texas on defense in the burnt orange, pulling to NC State in the whites. And Bailey Liberto, the team's Callahan nominee, is the first to touch it. Swings it around to Paul James. Guys having to step up into new roles. Deep shot hanging and drops harmlessly to the turf. Jeffrey Perkins missing on that one.
Red idea there by James, but he put the wrong angle on that disc. Instead of having it come OI back to the receiver, it faded IO to the turf.
So an early break opportunity for Texas. Disc moving ahead to Matt Armour. And Armour's going to take an upwind shot. I think you will gladly take that look every time come in this direction in particular. But Texas is a team that likes to throw it hard and far.
Especially when you get the disc onto the backhand sideline like that. Backhand's maybe a little bit of a stronger grip, able to get more spin on it heading up into the wind. This coach has to be happy with that.
It'll be interesting to see how they contend with Liberto and how he impacts this NC State's team's ability to go upwind, considering that he's a very powerful forehand thrower. Probably has a more powerful forehand than backhand, and that's pretty uncommon. Disc back into the middle for James. Now first touch for Wesley Dudas. Now Perkins back again, and Perkins is going to rip another one. This one's got a lot of hang on it and drops down just like he planned it for a hold. Dylan Hawkins on the receiving end of the opening score for NC State.
Good composure there from NC State, recovering from the initial turn, but not losing their aggressiveness and shooting downfield for the score.
Austin Von Alton going to be one of the key players here, and we'll see if they cross him over at all. But they're having to ask guys to step up into new roles. You know, they lost Michael Lee, who's basically the anchor of this D-line. to an artery injury before the tournament began. Then during the tournament, lost Connor Chicas, who I believe they said had a high ankle sprain. He's out for the tournament. He's maybe their second most valuable thrower. Even on this line, Trevor Lynch, who maybe is the team's second best defender after Lee, has like an arm fracture or something. You can see the big air cast on that left arm. So it's a pretty beat up NC State team. But they're not the only one. Texas, of course, playing without star Noah Chambers, who broke his leg in the semifinals of South Central Regionals. So maybe more in common than different between these two teams. And the downwind huck is one of those things, although incompletion there. Attempt by Reese Bowman to put that out into the end zone.
Smart help defense there from Alpha. When you're playing downwind defense like that, you need to have your head on a swivel when you're at the back of the stack, and a great job there coming off and getting the block.
Von Alton underneath, as we mentioned, playing with this D-line, maybe helping replace Lee. Well, a breakout this year, and that just breaks out of the hands of Riss Gresh. Riss, the team's leader in assists this season, as the primary handler of their D-line, and now into the end zone for an emphatic layout score. I thought for a second that might be routine, but the disc picked up steam, but not enough to evade Gage Edblum.
Great adjustment making that catch as the wind moved it just at the last minute. You see a lot of drops in windy conditions because of the way the disc can flutter just before it hits your hands. Oh, wonderful one-handed snag.
And a nice throw from Noah Chambers, or excuse me, already got him confused with his brother, Matt Chambers. Sorry. There are two Chamberses on Texas, and Matt, the freshman, has really stood out this season as one of the best young players in the division and is right in the thick of the Rookie of the Year conversation. And his importance to this Texas offense, it's hard to understate.
Stepping into some of the shoes left empty by his older brother's injury. Quite an emotional weekend for the Chambers family.
I mean, we got to watch Matt at the Stanford Invite play with one hand. I think he had a broken hand. And he still stood out as one of the best players on this team. Just quite saying a lot for the freshman out of Marcus High School. Enrolled at Texas early, so he could start playing with the team, and I'm sure they are more than happy to have him. So Texas back out, leaving Bailey Liberto unmarked, which they may come to regret, as he immediately puts a flick huck to the cameraman in the back of the end zone rather than his own receiver.
You talked about how powerful that flick huck is. Too powerful there going downwind. Maybe Texas had that all drawn up. Probably not, but maybe.
Three-dimensional chess, huh?
There was no hesitation there on the huck from Liberto. So it could have been intentional? Because they had help back.
So Texas now with a break opportunity as either their ingenious or fortunate plan works out. And now Kayvon Waugh with the huck. And hitting that turf hard. It's Brian Street. Street looking a little worse for wear, but not opting to call an injury.
And that disc just dropped a little bit before he was anticipating it, I think. Didn't quite get a read on it.
So an early pattern developing of hucks that aren't caught. I don't expect either of these teams to dial it in anytime soon. As Perkins comes underneath. And now airing it out yet again. A wide open target. Nicely reeled in
palpable sense of frustration from Texas on this point. You can see them walking off the field. They know they had a good shot at a break there.
And they continue to be aggressive deep both ways, and pays off for NC State. Avery Achierno on the other end of that one.
You just have to know that that is going to be the danger area when you're playing defense going in this direction. It's going to be that over-the-top throw with edge on it that allows it to sit like that. Coming from one side of the field to the other, I really think that Texas needs to keep their wing defender in the host stack back so that they can help on throws like that.
We'll see if NC State can apply some of this offensive firepower if they get the disc back on another Texas missed huck. Texas showing the hook'em horns to their sideline.
One of the better upwind pulls we've seen so far from Lynch.
Now, Reese Bowman with the disc. Bowman with an impressive scuba, much to the delight of the crowd. That advances Texas to pass the brick mark, but that hard forehand is knocked away by Hunter Schumacher, who immediately gives it right back and stares in frustration.
And Texas is back at it now.
Sames moving the disc. Now in the hands of Lawsey. High release from Bowman creates a lot of room. Shane Heath. Sames back with the disc and manages to get it in. Probably not the showing off the fundamentals or anything like that, but it's worth a goal all the same.
And with downwind offense, those are some throws you really do want to have in your tool bag. They look a little unorthodox, not quite as graceful, but when you can throw from high up like that, the disc is just going to coast on the wind. And you see the NC State mark doing a pretty good job of keeping his hands high. That's what you want to do. Hands high with downwind defense, hands low with upwind defense. You see NC State slowly walking back to the line here for their O point. It has been a long, hot, hard day for all the teams here after surviving yesterday. But their season's on the line, and they've got to dig deep and find something here.
Yeah, today was primarily cooler than it was yesterday, but the cloud cover has broken, so temperature has been on the way up. But you got to think the hometown Texas guys feel pretty comfortable.
Although North Carolina, no temperate paradise of its own, it gets pretty humid there.
Absolutely, and cross field, that one on a string, the invisible hand pulling that around, and now Texas with a high-quality break opportunity. Chambers with the disc, and that is the game's first break. Colby Bauer punctuates it with a little hop.
And let's talk about that inside flick there from Ahmad on Texas. Great vision, great edge control on the disc to put it out into space, target in motion without having to zip it. A lot of the time you'll see younger throwers just trying to throw that too hard, too fast. They're going upwind, they're nervous in the moment, and here it had perfect control. And then the quick little around dish to the cone for the break. Advantage Texas.
You hear about the secondary assist, often colloquially referred to as the hockey assist, and how it's the real hero. I think that's probably overplayed, but in that case you can really see it. That break throw set up Chambers for the easy assist, and while it won't go on the stat sheet, I think everybody can recognize that it was the throw that made the score happen. So Texas taking the advantage in front of the home crowd. As we take a look at Noah Chambers, the Texas star, unfortunately unable to compete with them after that broken leg, and they went on to finish second place in the South Central region.
Great job getting down and covering the pull here by the Texas Cup.
And nearly get a first throw turnover out of it. And aggressive straight up the sideline throw. And you can see why that throw is often eschewed in favor of easier options. Tough to keep in bounds.
Now, one of the questions is, did Tucker get a touch on that while in bounds? Because if so, it would be a big field position difference. It appears as though he did not, and now Texas will get the disc in the attacking third.
Short field. Not exactly what you want to give up in this situation. Armour with the disc. Looking all the way across the field at a completely uncovered target. And Saketh Paltrou into the end zone for back-to-back Texas breaks. The crowd's enjoying it.
And as we are in heat preparation 1, we have a heat timeout coming up. Let's take a quick look at this goal here. And that had to get through a lot of bodies to find all that open space.
But once it was out there, it was uncontested. So a valuable break for Texas puts them up 2. Teams are going to take a heat break, and we'll take a break for a word from our sponsors.
We come in all different shapes and sizes, but our uniforms don't. Equipped with multiple jersey cuts, lengths, and sizes, Full Circle is the perfect fit for your whole team. Look better, feel better, play better. Full Circle.
And welcome back to Ultiworld's live streaming coverage of the college championships, coming to you from Texas. Patrick, do you think you're going to continue to see this NC State team just beat their head against the wall, or do you think that they might make some adjustments, try and get back into this thing? Not to be too harsh. I may have shown my hand.
Well, we'll get a word from some NC State players right now with Trevor Lynch and Bailey Laberto.
The past couple of years, we were very close to making nationals. We earned a bid for the region beforehand, and then when we got to regionals, we, I guess, choked. We didn't get to that point where we could make nationals. So to be able to bring specifically this team and just the program to nationals and back to nationals, back onto the stage, means a lot, and it means the world to me and to all of the alumni that we are back on this stage.
I think for us, we want to play our game, and we've had a lot of people that were not here that we expected to be here, and things that have not really gone our way in the last couple of weeks. But we want to focus on just being present and enjoying this will be the last tournament for a lot of for I think 8 or 9 guys on the team. so we want to enjoy that experience together and make the most of it by playing as hard as we can together and playing our game. Whether that means wins or losses, we want to go out playing our game.
Definitely want to give a shout out to our captain, Michael Lee. He unfortunately is not able to make it to Texas for the tournament. He had some last-minute health problems that kind of kept him out. We just want to show him some love and give him love and say that, you know, everything that you're about to see on the field, that you're seeing right now, is for you, and we love you and we miss you.
And a chance to hear the NC State players talking not only about being at the tournament, but meaningfully about their captain, Michael Lee, and our well wishes out to him. Critical player, and maybe even more important as a leader for them.
Yeah, it's hard to overstate the impact Lee has had in turning this program from a perpetual underachiever to one that was finally able to seal the deal at regionals and make their way here to nationals.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the narrative of this team, a team that's been nationally competitive for a couple of years, but struggled to get over the hump at regionals, including a truly shocking collapse at regionals last year. But able to get the job done this year, and I think it was easy to assume this team would be happy to be here. But from my understanding, from what the team has said, they were coming out here thinking, you know, we're a top 8 seed. Why can't we do more than just enjoy the scenery? And it's got to be tough to adjust to so late the news that you will be playing without one of your dear friends and top players.
And some of that hangover may have impacted them as they came out flat and lost their first game of the tournament against Michigan. But they were able to get that win against Iowa State this morning, and they've still got time here to turn things around against Texas and maybe work their way into the bracket.
Now trying to work their way through this zone as Liberto.
And this is your classic Texas 3-person cup, 2 wings, short deep and a deep deep. This is the zone you teach people at Summer League, but Calvin Lynn's been teaching it for years in Texas, and it's simple, it's effective, and so far it's been doing a good job of keeping NC State moving horizontal and evidently into the turf.
And the errors starting to snowball for this NC State team, who's been broken twice in a row.
And they've given Texas another short field here for an upwind break. That's always a recipe for disaster.
It's how they gave up the previous upwind break. It's how they gave up the previous downwind break.
I'm a little curious about the strategy to be forcing Texas backhand going into the wind. Generally, you force flick going upwind. A little bit tougher to get those throws off.
As the teams take a timeout. And this timeout is presented by Disc Store. The Disc Store sells more than discs. For live viewers only, get your next custom full sub team jerseys for just $30 each with the promo code Ultiworld. That offer expires May 31st, so email jerseys@discstore.com to receive that exclusive offer. To go back to your question, Pat, it is an interesting choice. You weigh the pros and the cons. I think that it could be a wind direction thing. Like, if the wind isn't really going straight away from our vantage point at the back of the near end zone, if it's coming across and you get kind of a low side, high side effect, I think that there's value in trying to pin a team on the high side, make them throw the really hard swing into the wind. Hard to tell right now exactly which way the wind's going from where we are. Also, Texas' primary handler on the field right now is a lefty, so maybe that is a factor.
Short field here for Texas, and a third break in a row at the end of 2 long days would be really tough for NC State to come back from.
Classically slanted vertical stack here to set up exactly this. Lots of room on that shallow break side. And that break throw is caught. Texas is pouring it on, although it looks like there's discussion. I see hands going into the air from the observers. So Christopher Layden will be on the receiving end of another Texas break. NC State, their Nationals life is flashing before their eyes.
It's only 3 goals. It's not insurmountable. But things do not look good here for NC State. And just enough float on that around flick for Rich to dig it up out of the turf.
I mean, my concern is not only that we haven't really seen NC State adjust, that they've gotten broken, it's that they haven't been able to get a turn back out of the defense. I mean, every time they've given them a disc, as we noted in short fields, they're getting scored on. Maybe that's why they need to get. Maybe they need to even get more aggressive hucking. I don't know. Just make sure you don't give up a short field. But they have struggled to create quality looks offensively after those first couple points, and now they've been put into a compromising position.
Expect to see Texas come back to that 3-person cup. NC State having to go upwind. If you're NC State right now, you have to be telling yourself, we just need this point, we just need this point, then we get a downwinder.
So NC State will again see this Texas zone, and again, they will yield possession just outside of their own end zone. And a high release backhand, not the first time we've seen that. In fact, that looks almost like an instant replay of the hold that started this 5-goal run. High release break from Sames into the hand of Palchuru. That makes it 6-2.
And Sames had a receiver wide open on the force side, never looked for it. He was always going to be throwing that high release backhand. And I think if you're the mark there for NC State, you want to keep your hands higher. You've seen that Sames likes that throw. You know that that's going to be the vulnerable spot on the field. If he's going to step out, throw a low release downwind that's going to pop up a little bit, maybe that happens. But you can't just give them that automatic high release backhand.
Yeah, you got to focus on what you can do, and see a timeout here, probably talking about that exact type of adjustment. Timeout is presented by Disc Store. Get that $30 full sub jersey order deal. Just got to use that promo code Ultiworld. But you know, sometimes it's your offense just can't click, right? You just can't get the connections going. We've all been there. I typically talk about, well, you know what? Let's just make up for bad offense by playing insane defense. Like, it doesn't matter what the other team's doing. If we're just working our butts off on defense, we can create more opportunities for ourselves. We can make up for bad offense. You can get in transition, all those sorts of things. But right now, the defense hasn't even arrived either. So it may be a marking adjustment. It may be just playing with more intensity and focus. Whatever it is, NC State better find it soon, or they're going to spend the rest of the tournament watching the bracket play out between their consolation matches rather than participating.
You hit on it there, Keith. It's been a failure at every level of the game thus far for NC State. Lack of execution, lack of chemistry and being on the same page on offense, lack of intensity, and lack of awareness on defense. The good news is that there's a lot of areas they can improve in, and they can start with any one of them right now on this point.
I think they got a block once. So, you know, credit where credit's due. But I don't think they would say that this is an effort that they feel like represents their team. So now you can kind of lean on your pride and say, we want to represent ourselves the best we can. And if the chips fall where you come back and make a win, then you take it. This swinging around to James, and when's the last time this team crossed midfield?
When's the last time the disc even crossed midfield in the air?
Another turnover and another short field for Texas. Chambers, wide open target, and Texas maybe feeling a little gracious. Give up on that one, and now it is a coffin corner situation with burnt orange jerseys all around Liberto, and he takes the hammer to get out of it.
And that's the kind of aggressive shot you should be taking when you're going downwind against this type of zone.
And there's another aggressive shot, and NC State rips off the seal as they get back into the end zone, trail 3-6.
Texas opting to continue throwing that three-person cup even with NC State going downwind, and you saw they got a turn out of it because NC State was not taking those aggressive shots. Nice high release there to put plenty of float on it.
Drops right in. So a score there for Schumacher, and our live streaming coverage of the college championships is brought to you in part by Oak Creek Ultimate. They're offering a team promotion of 25% off on all team orders of 12 pieces or more. Contact them at sales@oakcreekultimate.com before June 6th to take advantage of this limited time promotion. That's sales@oakcreekultimate.com to get 25% off your next team order.
All right, time for that defense we talked about NC State not having any semblance of.
Well, I think it's time for them to put that stuff in the rear view. I mean, this is a test of a team that has been through trials, right? This is a program that's been forged in the fire, but we're just not sure if the finished product is there yet. This is a chance to prove it on a big stage.
And they're in the cauldron right now with Texas's home crowd here getting behind their team. Texas flooding the sideline.
Yeah, it's a big like Texas-sized metal cauldron, aged, maybe been through some serious conflict, but it's definitely hot for NC State as that scuba goes over the top of their cup.
NC State trying a zone of their own, and Texas working right through it.
That's not the response hold you want to give up, as Matt Armour, basically the ultimate equivalent of just leaving your form up there while you hit a three-pointer, just tosses a high-release backhand and looks at the crowd confidently as it arrives in his receiver's waiting hands.
You're going to throw a zone against me when I'm going downwind?
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
Look at that. I mean, the swagger is on full display for Texas. An impressive throw by Matt Armour, one of our spin players to watch. Armour, one of the leaders of this team, even last year, led them in goals at nationals last year. Plays for Austin Double Wide, and he's also the merchandise chair for the team. So these burnt orange jerseys, he can take some credit for. That's the nature of being a club sport, right? You got to do a little bit of everything, Pat.
Merchandise chair was the position for the person responsible for embezzling funds from the student administration on my college team. So not going to impugn Armour.
What's the statute of limitations on that offense? Graduation?
Graduation,
nice.
Sure.
Well, this live broadcast of the Division I College Championships is brought to you by Spin Ultimate. Spin Ultimate providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin on the web at spinultimate.com. Maybe if you're your team's apparel chair. And the hits keep coming for NC State. Schumacher gives it away, and now this is a chance. The defense just has to assert itself.
It's now or never for NC State.
And there they get just what they were looking for. Paul James able to get a block. So the offense gets a reprieve. Now the Scuba breaks through. And they're getting their maybe first red zone possession of the game now. And I spoke too soon. I mean, Texas is I can't decide if they're letting NC State hang around or if they're letting them hang themselves. I don't know. It's only a 4-point game. It just feels like a blowout so far.
It feels like one of these teams is doing the things that they're trying to do on the field, and the other team is completely at the whim of fate.
Texas dictating this game, and I'm a firm believer that the team that dictates the game, if whoever's playing their style is the team that's going to win. I don't know if I've ever seen a team win in a game in which the style of play was dictated away from their choice. So a timeout for Texas as they near the red zone with a chance to take half. This timeout is presented by a Disc Store. If you haven't yet, check out that $30 full sub jersey deal. Email jerseys@discstore.com before May 31st to take advantage of it. In fact, I'll challenge you. You should take advantage of it before this half ends.
You might not have too long, Keith.
Better
so
move.
Better
move.
Better get those fingers flying.
I bet you won't.
Texas on the doorstep here, and we've seen on several occasions when they have had the disc on this sideline in the red zone, they try to flood towards the disc and create tons of space on the break side to get an around flick off. See if NC State does anything to react to that. Perhaps run some sort of a clam against the vert and keep someone stationed in that break side.
So again, I mean, I didn't realize that this timeout was very, very similar in field position to the last Texas timeout. They came out in the same look. I never liked this look as a player, the slanted vertical stack. I always felt like it was incredibly poachable, and we're seeing NC State attempt that. Now that they've seen this before, they're going to try and run kind of a clam off the back of the stack. But Texas attacks the short break lane very effectively. But pressure on the reset. Waugh finds enough room. And a poach block. And I think maybe a bailout foul. Harrow trying to make the play, but a little too much contact, and even he knows that that's going to save possession for Texas.
That's lucky for Texas there, as Harrow had a read on the disc, but he wasn't quite sure of how Ebblom was going to be moving through the air. Ended up shoving him down, but he was able to make the pick off there and get NC State the disc back.
And that red zone turnover just not snapped, so easily taken away. And now Dudas looking deep. That's what NC State's been looking for. Looking to create some transition huck opportunities. And the spirit's unbroken as Hawkins with a little celebration, trying to keep the fire going.
More time for you at home to get to discstore.com before half. Complete the Keith Rayner challenge. And NC State has had success when they've attacked vertically downfield. It's mostly been these horizontal turnovers against the Cup, rushing throws on handler swings. I think they just have to start being more aggressive here in this game because they've shown that they just don't have the focus right now to execute at a high level over multiple throws on a possession.
Yeah, push the pace. I mean, even if you don't complete the huck, you know, you can try and get the other team in transition if you can get the turn back. You know, although you could just cut out the huck and play some great defense here. I mean, you got your D-line out. Keep them aggressive, right? If you can cause a little chaos, get things moving your way, and catch them slipping when you change possession, it's a great way to start generating goals without having to play possession offense, which it seems like is not going to be NC State's strong suit, at least not in this first half.
And it speaks to your earlier point about dictating the terms of the game. Right now, they're not going to be able to do that with just sheer disc control. They're going to have to create a game that is about intensity and hope that they can win the intensity battle.
Sebastian Lawsey saves that. Then we see another high release break from Sames. Kevin Rue with the disc now. Bowman. A little bit of poaching from NC State now. I think they're just kind of like looking for a way to create a little chaos, which I think is good. You need to get blocks right now. I mean, Texas is not a team known for their possession game either. They scored most of these goals on short fields.
And make Texas think. Texas is in a groove right now. They're hitting all kinds of throws like that, out of rhythm, out of chemistry. Do something to make Texas take a minute instead of being able to just put up whatever they want and have it work out.
I mean, this is the last thing you want to see if you're playing against Texas, is them hitting on all of the shots you don't expect, all the throws that you try and say, oh, those are low percentage looks. Not when you're Texas. I mean, they know each other very well. They have a great sense of timing, and these throwers are very used to throwing things to space, throwing people open. I mean, the high release forehand over the stack is not your traditional assist, but they know to play that way.
Texas isn't your traditional team, but they've still taken half anyways, up 8-4, about to eliminate North Carolina State unless something can change in the second half.
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis,
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
documentary shorts,
And we've played Brute Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
and a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Quite a first half. We just saw Pat, Texas putting on a show in front of the hometown crowd and really taking NC State out of their rhythm. What do you think Texas is going to be talking about at the halftime?
I think Texas is going to be talking about staying loose. I would be surprised if they even talk about that half. I think we saw that they had a lot of success just feeling natural, making the throws that were coming to them in the moment. I think if you're the coach here, you don't even want to talk about Frisbee at this point. You want to just keep them loose, keep them feeling comfortable, and have them get back out on the exact same note they left off on.
I mean, I think that could be a strength of this team, and I think they're going to benefit greatly from being at home. You got your family around, you've got environment you know, and that really, I think, is helping them stay loose, and an advantage here for that Texas team. NC State, they're going to need to look to get back into this one with some changes.
If this is the low point before the heroic comeback that turns NC State's season around, this is some low point.
Well, we'll see if NC State can bounce back with a strong second half. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with you in just a few for the conclusion of this one.
I'm 100 and I'm getting it. Como lomo, luxury. I'm a Niger up in this. When I turn up, you know I'm on my. Yes, I'm on my. Yes, I'm on my. I am so. Yes, I am so. I'm on my. wanna dread and I'm getting it. Como lomo, luxury. I'm when I drop in this. When I turn up, you know I'm on my. Yes, I'm on my. Yes, I'm on my. I am so. Yes, I am so. I'm on my.
Final round of pool play. 8-4. Texas leads over NC State. A dominant first half. So NC State's going to need to do a lot of work to get back into this one. Pat, we got to watch that Florida warm-up reel. Loved it. It's one of my favorites of the year. Aiden Shapiro-Layton, our video editor, is just like churning out the hits, man.
Someone really needs to pay him to make their Callahan video, because the Callahan videos have been falling off a little bit in the past few years, and one of the best editors in the game sitting in-house.
Interesting. I've been working on a Callahan video kind of like ranking article, and I actually think this is a up year after a couple of down years.
Agreed. I think it's an up year compared to the past few years.
Fair.
But I think since 2016, we've been in a little bit of a rut.
Look, man, it's hard because there wasn't that much footage out before, so we hadn't seen a lot of stuff. But now it's like you feel like you've seen everything, and we like need people to explore the space in a new way. And I think that's going to be coming from editing, not from Ultimate. Like, people have high-quality clips, and the quality of the player in general is just better. But we're going to need more advancement behind the camera, so to speak.
And speaking of exploring space in a new way, NC State is really going to need to do some work against this Texas three-person cup that they've been throwing out. It's been an issue for NC State all day, the inability to just get the little fundamental elements of methodically breaking down a cup right. We talked about this a bit in the first half, but they're now in a position where they're either going to win this game by completing a bunch of crazy throws over the top, some exciting big athletic hucks, or they're not. They're not going to be able to chisel their way with fundamentals, given the way they're playing, given the fatigue, given the lack of focus that they've had.
Yeah, and this isn't Queen City tune-up. Like, if it's February, maybe there's some advantage to be gained, some lessons to be learned by trying to play your game, use your strategy to get through the zone. Maybe you don't want to play the deep game because you want to learn how to become better at working the disc. But it's May. It's nationals. After this is only next year, and unless you're starting to play next year now, in which case you might as well pack it in, you need to make your adjustments that are going to give you a chance to win this game.
You can play next year when it's not 85 degrees and humid.
NC State will start on defense, which I think is probably in their best interest, although not covering a Texas player probably not the best decision. Doesn't seem to hurt them too much, just gives up a freebie.
Texas didn't cover Liberto in the first half, and he threw a turnover, so maybe they're trying to take a page out of Texas's book.
Shot goes up from Goodwin, and this is a jump ball, if it can even stay in bounds, but swatted away.
Henry Poe on the block there for Alpha. And here we go. They've got a shot at a break. Kick off the second half in a big way and maybe jolt something into their dying season.
Look, that's the way you inspire belief, though, right? As you start, everybody knows that the time comeback, like the first 2 or 3 points out of half are often decisive when you have a big lead like this.
Because if you get a break out of half, you can believe the things you told yourself in the huddle heading into halftime. Or you can do that.
So Poe with the block and also the turnover. NC State still struggling to make sure that their 7 players are guarding Texas' 7 players. But they've got it all set now, and once they lock in, they've been pretty tight. Another call to stop play.
So it may have been a fast count call.
Gresh on the mark against Waugh. The two handlers matched up as Chambers gets it and uncorks a hammer from somewhere. He just cocked that thing back and threw it to midfield. I don't know where that came from, but NC State's got the disc now for all that excitement. And Lynch manages to get the forehand upwind beyond the reach of Chambers. But Poe's continued throw just sails into the air, and a receiving foul.
This is a big call here. The home Texas crowd does not like it. You're looking to get some observer audio there. Looks like it might not quite have worked.
Maybe a foul contest or a foul with the observer did not have a good line of sight to make a ruling. So observer not going to influence the call here. Not sure if that's from the player's choice or either way. Henry Poe gets a chance to keep the disc, and I'm sure he's pretty appreciative.
We haven't seen much of the red zone offense from NC State so far because they have so few opportunities. Worked out there. NC State starts off the second half with a big upwind break. Couldn't have asked for anything better. That's step one.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They all count the same. So this is an incredibly valuable score. NC State with a key break, and with that, we're going to go to our own Charlie Eisenhood on the sideline for an update.
As you can see, guys, Vinay Valsaraj is coming out to the line. He just arrived at the fields. He was at the Texas graduation. Of course, we saw earlier Texas Melee had their seniors all here, and they did a little mock graduation ceremony here at the fields. Vinay, though, he was actually at graduation. He just arrived back at the fields. Maybe he's the spark plug Texas needs to close out this win. Back to you.
Thanks, Charlie Eisner. You can't say he's not the hardest working man in the business, save maybe Daniel Prentice, but I mean, I guess that is definitive proof that Texas Melee cares more than Texas Tough.
Just not about academics.
So Valsaraj arrives from graduation. Just another benefit of having nationals in your hometown. But he's the team's Callahan nominee. They managed to build an 8-5 lead without him. Perhaps he can help snuff out the hopes of NC State, who, if they can add another break here, things get really interesting, and Valsaraj maybe should have warmed up a little bit more as he drops his first pass. And a quick goal for NC State. I mean, can't draw it up any better than that.
And this is the first point all game when Texas now has some real pressure on them. The first half was a story of NC State tripping over their own feet, fumbling to 3 points. But we see here that they've come out. They are taking advantage of their opportunities. Fortunate to get the drop there from Valsaraj, but they now have a chance to really make use of what's been given to them and potentially save their season.
Did Charlie say that Valsaraj is going to be the spark for NC State? Was that the comment? Valsaraj, one of the top performers on this Texas team. Now, I'm sure they're glad he is here, because now they might actually need a little cavalry coming in, with NC State adding 2 straight to start the second half and to make things a bit interesting.
They have a shot here at another upwind break. Trevor Lynch has really been the player for this D-line so far. It was his flick into the face of the wind that got them on the doorstep for their first break of the half. He's also had some good pulls into the wind.
So Reese Bowman takes the opening pull. Mozzie into the middle. Valsaraj, lots of room, and Bowman tries to find him with a scuba. I am very skeptical that disc was not on the ground before he got it.
And that throw was working for Texas in the first half. They were in flow. They were letting it rip. But now they've got a little pressure on them, and the throw's just not working out. And NC State, here we go, can make it a 1-point game.
Ahmad's efforts to convince everybody really that was up go by the wayside, but NC State can't do much with that possession, and Bowman will pick back up just short of midfield. But Rue's sliding attempt does not save that disc, so both teams a little inefficient, and NC State not liking what they're seeing, so they're going to take a timeout.
NC State really showing some guts after what can be really described as a disastrous first half. To come back here, not give up, really fight to put themselves back in here, really fight to get their season continuing.
They'll have to do so after this timeout, which is presented by Disc Store. DiscStore.com is proud to support Ultiworld and has a special $30 custom full sub offer for live viewers only. Get custom team full subs for just $30 each. Just use the promo code Ultiworld. Just send that over to jerseys@discstore.com to receive that exclusive offer. Expires May 31st.
If I'm Texas coming out of this setting my defense, I'm really making sure I'm getting the disc out of Lynch's hands. He's been the go-to guy on the D-line here, and you do not want to let him work the disc up the 4th sideline.
So NC State getting ready to come out of this timeout, hoping to execute on what they drew up. Inside break for Lynch, and a completely uncovered Von Alden, who's been a bit quiet, although NC State in general had a quiet first. Now taking the little short throw. Chambers has just been sitting in that open side front corner, and a foul call on the throw. A fortunate turn of events for Schumacher as he had dropped the pass.
And Kevin Harrow has just been waving his arms and screaming. He is wide open on the break side of the field. We'll see if NC State manages to get it over to him. But they don't need to because they have Lynch. He misses on the spike, but he was right on the money with that upline cut, and it is now a 1-point game. NC State is absolutely alive.
Yeah, why throw it all the way across the field when you can throw it 5 yards in front of you? And Lynch using the hurt arm to make the catch. Wonder what he could do even at full capacity. I mean, don't forget that this is an NC State team missing 2 of their top players, Michael Lee, and Connor Chicas. But here they are battling back in the conditions against the hometown squad with the hometown crowd. Guys showing up from graduation. They don't care about these narratives. And they don't care about that first half right now. They are rolling with 3 straight out of the break.
The pressure is really on Texas now, and that was a rough point for Reese Bowman, one of Texas' best players, one of the real emotional leaders of the team. Several turnovers and then getting roasted up line for the goal. Texas has some work to do here, going upwind for a key hold.
Gresh with a towering pull that heads out of the back. Not a puller from the Texas crowd chanted, which I feel maybe a little judgmental from that small sample size, but should be more worried about Gresh with the back-to-back break assists. So solid field position for Kayvon Wan, Texas. Wide throw for Valsaraj, tracked down before the defense can get to it. Valsaraj now with the disc and a wide open Chambers, and a lot of contact after that one. And understandably, a blue card coming out for Gresh. Chambers swaggers off into the distance to the rookie.
And the vengeful Texas crowd loves to see the blue card there. Valsaraj with some redemption on that point, throwing the assist after doing some good work to get open, making amends for his drop, and now the Texas D-line gets a chance to come out and start building that lead back up.
Yeah, post-score antics withstanding, and really critical score for Texas, and Texas really just rushed right through the NC State defense. Not a lot of resistance offered.
And we are hearing from our reporters around the complex that Brown is up big on Michigan, and that means that if the current results hold, Texas, Michigan, and Brown would go through from the pool. But if NC State is able to pull off this comeback, Michigan would be eliminated due to their substantial loss to Texas yesterday.
Yeah, at last count, that Brown-Michigan game 9-4, as that jump ball is brought in by Texas, although there's a man down for NC State.
I don't know if there was a foul call here or just an injury. See, this is interesting because I don't believe that Liberto had a play on that disc, but he got absolutely crushed by Ford Foster there. And we'll see how the ruling goes. See if we can get some observer audio.
So we're waiting to see the outcome of the situation. Liberto's still stating his case. This is one of two pools where the results are still unclear. Over in Pool C, Pittsburgh, Oregon, and Wisconsin still trying to figure out what order they could arrange. Pittsburgh locked up Pool C, but Wisconsin and Oregon still figuring things out as they are playing now. Last count, 8-6 Oregon led in that one. Pools A and B already won by Cal Poly SLO and NC State, while Ohio State, Georgia, Colorado, and Washington have secured advancement into the pre-quarter round. Texas probably on their way to join them, and NC State hoping they could earn the right with what would be a very impressive comeback.
NC State getting bailed out a little bit on that foul. You can understand why the call is made because Liberto did get demolished there, but that was probably going to be a turnover if the foul didn't happen.
Liberto placed now behind the disc as NC State tries to work their way around this cup. They are pressed against that trap sideline, but with so much space, Liberto is able to put a scuba out. Still, however, they're near that sideline with Schumacher. Liberto frees them up. And that creates some motion, and now a aggressive throw to space. We said that that's the kind of chance they may need to take. Schumacher with a little too much mustard on that one, and you can understand why he threw it so hard, considering that he was trying to throw it between two defenders.
And that's the kind of throw that makes you appreciate the inside flick that Ahmad had earlier in the first half. It was so impressive because they were able to put float and touch on it despite having to go upwind. The window was there for NC State, but the zip that needed to be put on it to get it into the wind meant that there was no chance for the receiver to run onto it.
Bowman holding on his own goal line near midfield. Yet another scuba. There's a wide open Texas cutter, but timely defense. And now the reset nearly turned over, but Bowman saves it. The senior coming up big for his O-line, and now Waugh puts a shot out for Valsaraj, and he connects. And just like Valsaraj probably threw his cap in the air, he throws the disc up to celebrate a score. 10-7, Austin Graduate leads.
That's a tough point to take for NC State. They get so close to a key hold, and then even after the turn, playing incredible dump D here. Bowman had about 8 seconds to get open and still barely did. And then Waugh sending a perfect shot deep, just enough float on it for Valsaraj to have no problem whatsoever. Again, that is great dump D from Dudas. He did his job, but Bowman just had that extra inch. And Valsaraj had an extra couple of meters by the end of that foot race, and Texas finds themselves 10-7 in the lead.
So Texas responding to the run out of half by NC State, and Valsaraj, who I'm aligned after the early drop on his first point, has come back with an assist and a goal. So showing the experience, able to weather the storm a bit. NC State still within reach. This game has not gotten away from them. They were able to do just enough to keep themselves in it, but they're going to need another run here. Pull goes up from Texas, rolls just past midfield before the wind twists it back the other way and comically evades the pull coverage for an extra 6-7 yards.
Brock Davis 5-holed by his own teammate mid-game.
And Liberto blades one into the breeze over the defense. That's the kind of throw I think NC State fans are looking for from Bailey Liberto. And drops right in to his target. Matt Tucker, make it a 10.
Liberto has those kinds of zone-breaking throws. See the little give and go to move the cup, as well as moving the deep, and then he's able to hang that bladey flick up from Matt Tucker, and the easy hold. NC State's D-line back to work trying to save their season.
After a quick hold like that, I think I would, I don't know what kind of defender Liberto is, but I would think about crossing over. I mean, you're going upwind. You just had a really brief O point. There's a chance you could play a long D point here, but I think Liberto probably decreases that chance with his power and throwing ability.
And he's the kind of offensive player that, you know, he'll work hard to have to get open, but he's doing most of his work with his arms, less with his legs. You know, he's not having to churn cuts downfield. But NC State showing some faith in their D-line, which we should note has been able to get breaks thus far in the second half.
The D-line has almost as many goals as the O-line. It's 5-3 in that count.
Texas's offense looking to steady the ship here after a rough second half.
Lynch's pull, picked up by Waugh, goes all the way across the field.
And Jake Sams was wide open in the deep space, but because of the good mark from NC State, not able to get him the disc.
Waugh gets free in that reset space before taking another cross-field throw, and that's continued into the end zone. And NC State's defense now struggling to keep up with the pace of this tough offense. 11-8, Texas leads.
NC State got suckered into over-committing to the break side a few times there on that point, and were made to pay with a nice cross-field flick for a goal. NC State starting to run out of time. They had their comeback in the beginning of the half to make it a game, but they're going to have to start getting some more breaks soon. About 12 minutes away from soft cap.
NC State really in a tough spot here, and they could use a spark from their star cutter, Austin Von Alten. He's one of our spin players to watch. Von Alten playing with Durham Brickhouse in the club season and a major in mechanical engineering, and also, Pat, a world jump rope championship competitor.
So Frisbee is his less successful but also less weird thing he does? I feel like that's the opposite for how most people transitioning to Frisbee from sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly unique. I hesitate to think there is a superior jump roper here in the complex in Round Rock, Texas.
Do you think they ever jump rope for pole at some point?
That would be a great hustle.
Kind of yeah.
You know, have him like kind of fumble with it. He is our spin player to watch, and he could be a big part of NC State if they come back. And this live broadcast of the college championships is brought to you by Spin Ultimate. Spin Ultimate providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin on the web at spinultimate.com. And NC State making it look effortless as they float over the defense into the end zone.
NC State's offense has been able to put it together in the second half, but it's really going to be on their defense now. There's a nice little scoober there from Perkins. Perkins with a little bit of a unique form there, kind of the perpendicular release on the scoober. Not as in vogue right now as more of the off the back hip Matt Bennett style release, but it's worked out for him a few times today.
Yeah, if you got the wrist power, to keep it from turning over when you throw it like that, which, you know, that just stayed pretty flat, easy to catch, then might as well go for it. Still got the flight path he was looking for it, and like I said, set his teammate up for success. So a 2-point deficit for NC State. Break starts to make this game very spicy. If you're following along with Ultiworld's coverage, suggest you do it at ultiworld.com/live. Our live page has the Twitter updates, it has the live streams, it's got our live blog where our crack team of reporters is providing you everything you need to know from here in Round Rock. And now is the time, as pools start to become decided, it feels like results matter all over the complex, and we've got the pre-quarter round where 8 games simultaneously are going to send teams home, as Texas sends one home to the end zone. 3 quick holds for this Texas offense. They are back in that rhythm.
And a near thing there for NC State. Not quite able to get what could have been a big block. Little out of position, the defender, but able to make up a lot of the ground. Just not quite able to get there is Troy Miller.
Yeah, Troy just getting a mouthful of turf pellets instead. And if I were Troy, I'd be a little annoyed with my teammate. I mean, that was not a great effort defending the under and giving up an open, like, fair, weakly marked huck. I think that sort of defense is not going to be what you need if you want to get back into this. And so we see the teams take a heat timeout. So the teams are going to cool off. Why don't you cool off with a word from our sponsors?
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis,
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
documentary shorts,
And we've played Bird Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
and a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.
We come in all different shapes and sizes, but our uniforms don't. Equipped with multiple jersey cuts, lengths, and sizes, Full Circle is the perfect fit for your whole team. Look better, feel better, play better. Full Circle.
And welcome back for what will likely be the conclusion of this matchup between Texas and NC State. I want to get you some scores from around this final round of pool play here in Round Rock. Right now, we'll start in the women's division. Oregon taking half over Colorado in Pool A. Oregon trying to get into that bracket. They're up 8-7, so that's a close one. Keep an eye on that. UC Santa Barbara, who is in strong position. They're up 11-7 on Northeastern. Ohio State up by the same count against Minnesota. Western Washington in control of their game against Georgia, while UC San Diego and Tufts, who I believe their fates are probably locked are tied at 8. The only pool that's decided is Pool D, where Dartmouth has won. Carleton finished 2nd, and Wisconsin finished 3rd. Carleton a distant 2nd from a Dartmouth team that is looking unstoppable, basically.
Everybody might be a distant 2nd to the Dartmouth team this weekend. Although UNC's point diff is pretty good too.
Yeah, looking forward to how the bracket shakes out in both divisions. So we've got games still underway here on the men's side as well. Brown still with the healthy lead on Michigan. Oregon's expanded their lead over Wisconsin to 10-6. Colorado up 14-13 on Washington, or finished off Washington 14-13 in the settled Pool B. Texas's pull heads out of bounds. And I can't tell if that was Texas razzing themselves or if the NC State fans trying to give it back. But Liberto will get the disc just short of the midline. Tough throw cross field. Tucker gives it back to Liberto, and Liberto stuffed.
Liberto's got a great flick, but when you rely on it that much, opposing players can start to sit on it. And we saw there that Texas was really dialed in on stopping him from unleashing things from that flick grip.
Nice defensive positioning from Zane Tucker. Now here's Chambers. Moves the disc up to you. Chambers back with the disc in his hands. And now a shot to the end zone from Texas. And a big bid comes up short, but not for a lack of effort from Kevin Root.
Not able to make use of Zane Asher's hand block there, but able to push NC State back to the goal line. So it's a field position game here for Texas.
So another chance for this NC State offense to keep them in it. Hawkins resets to Liberto, and Liberto absolutely rockets a forehand into the deep space. And there's a pile of players and a disc on the ground, so I think we're going to see a call.
A little unclear what the contact was there that generated this call.
Honest opinion, from just the first look, there was both a catch and what was probably illegal contact, but I just can't really see how the illegal contact affected the catch. They felt like separate operations. We'll see again on the replay what happens with Matt Tucker's catch here. I mean, it looks like people are sliding into his legs. Maybe that took away his focus as he tried to make the catch, but
Perkins basically just comes in like a bowling ball and starts knocking people down. And if he's doing that, I don't know if Tucker can effectively call a foul.
Perkins has the disc, so it may have been Perkins calling the foul, and instead he just delivers a short throw to Tucker for the hold to make it 12-10. So maybe the premise of the question was different than we had supposed.
Certainly some contact involved in Perkins' actions on the play, and the observers deeming that they were initiated by Texas, which gave NC State the short field and the goal.
And I will say that as much as the deep game feels like the signature style of both of these teams, it's really been about getting a short field. That seems to have been the decisive element in this one, which obviously ties into your deep game. You huck it a lot, you give up a lot less short fields. But when a team has had a short field, they've mostly been pretty efficient with punching it in. And the team that's been given the most short field opportunities is Texas, and they lead by probably about the difference in those two numbers.
Particularly with those early upwind breaks, which of course tend to multiply into downwind breaks.
They do tend to come in bunches, or pairs, I guess. It's a pair or bunch? Not really.
What's a bunch?
It's not a unit of measurement, I don't think.
We just need to live in a society in which we acknowledge that a bunch exists and also acknowledge we can't, figure out exactly what it is.
We'll see if NC State can figure out exactly what it is they need to do to get a break here. An upwinder, no less. May involve a bunch of defensive plays. Wah, unmarked again, and he's going to try and launch one over the stack. And knocked down. Heads up defense there from Henry Poe. He's got a couple blocks to his name. Now Huck back the other way, exactly the kind of game NC State needs right now. And Poe gets the bookends and brings it back within one.
So as the soft cap horn sounding, Poe scores for NC State. The cap just beating the goal, which means that we will be playing a game to 14.
Well, you think the tension's going to rise a little bit after that one, Pat?
The Texas crowd seems a little nervous, not quite as boisterous as they had been previously when they were up big. No hesitation there on the transition attack from NC State. We saw in the turnover, which was plucked out of the sky by Poe, that you can create a lot of nice throwing windows for Hucks with vert stack, but when you're trying that attack over the top of the stack, you do leave yourself vulnerable to getting snatched out of the air because the stack is going to be pretty deep at that point.
That feels like a turnover that's probably just the cost of doing business for Tough. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they get one of those, two of those a game. And they're just like, we're willing to accept that for the amount of times that we throw that well over the stack and get a big gainer or a score out of it. But at this point, I mean, individual turnovers, they matter. So Chambers fields the pull. Sends it ahead to Street. Interesting personnel choices for Texas. No Bowman here. Even though they're going upwind, I mean, I'd say he leads the team in touches. That's a big touch right there, saved. Sebastian Lawsey. But unbelievable. Oh, my heart stopped as I thought that was a Callahan. We're all the way in the other end zone, but it may turn into a score either way and be just as valuable. Floaty pass brought in. Tie ball game, Pat.
Troy Miller read the swing all the way. Was not able to write his name into history with a Callahan there, but I don't think he'll care. It's 12-12 right now. NC State's season on the line. If they win this game, they will make pre-quarters and eliminate Michigan Magnum, who I'm sure is watching with vested interest right now. And you see Miller there, head in hands, knowing that he could have really been somebody if he was able to hold on to that Callahan.
Just a little around break. We said that the short field has been incredibly valuable in this game. That holds true here. Gresh tossing in his 4th assist, all in the second half, all during these break runs. The second run of 3 goals for NC State. A win by NC State here will eliminate Michigan and save NC State's season.
So
I'm pretty sure sorry, go ahead, Pat.
So we get to see the line that Texas puts out here on a must-have hold. Valsaraj out, fresh from graduation. Bowman back on the field.
And this is going to cause some consternation. A low centering throw from Wah.
Now that's something that NC State was doing all first half.
Take another look. And
it
is down. That disc was down. And the shoe is squarely on the other foot right now. And uncomfortably so if you're Texas Tough.
No pivot there, far too lackadaisical.
Remember we were talking about how Texas is being loose is their greatest strength? We may have oversold it.
Well, that's the funny thing about greatest strengths is they can often be your greatest weakness.
Poe underneath. I think a travel call on behalf of Bowman.
And that was great defense from Shane Heath there to take away the front cone. Really turning his hips and dictating where the offensive player could cut.
So Poe has the disc now. Up ahead to Gresh, the quarterback of this defense, and has a wide open bunting in the back of the end zone, and NC State has surged into the lead.
What makes this comeback so improbable, Keith, is not just the scoreline. 8-4 is not insurmountable. It was the difference in play between these teams. Texas had been getting everything to go their way in the first half, and NC State looked absolutely dead on arrival from the beginning of the game, but they found something inside themselves to keep their season alive. And its game's not over yet, but just the ability to come back and get this lead heading into cap is pretty amazing. Michigan must have their hearts in their throats right now watching this from Texas. Texas, of course, will still survive into bracket play regardless of the final outcome of this game. But they have to be upset and troubled heading into the pre-quarters that they were able to let a lead slip away.
So drama coming down the stretch. Not just the final round of pool play, but the final points. It's a game to 14, and improbably it is NC State with the advantage right now. They trailed 8-3.
A completed centering pass there for Texas. Good first start.
A desperate bid from Lynch. Texas gets it over to Chambers. Texas advancing the disc now. Every throw, every catch feels like a hard in your stomach moment if you're a fan of Alpha.
I don't think so.
And Texas will finish second in the pool regardless of the outcome, but they're playing to put this game away. You do not want to enter the bracket play with a loss, having given up that kind of halftime lead.
Chambers, the freshman, with the disc all the way across for Sames, and another stoppage.
Looks like the disc will stay with Sames.
So Sames going to have a unmarked red zone opportunity. And while both teams have been pretty efficient when close to the end zone, they haven't had to play in this kind of pressure.
We know what we're going to get here from Texas with a vert stack, trying to clear as much space on the break side as possible.
Back a little bit. Hey, we're T-bag, Okay, we good? Tap it to the ground. Yep, you're welcome.
Disc checked in, and right away the throw goes up to Bowman, but it comes off of the hands of the bidding senior, and NC State sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
NC State with the disc in their hands to keep their season alive. And there goes the Huck.
Gresh has this one coming back in to Von Alten. Von Alten with a great effort, but well defended by Texas. But NC State's going to make Texas come all the way back upwind here.
We've been talking about short field opportunities, so you can't fault NC State there for taking the shot when they had it. I think Texas is making the argument that the disc never came back in and that Van Alten didn't make a play on the disc from inbounds.
I mean, it seemed like Texas got a hand on that, right? In an effort to make sure that Von Alten couldn't toe the line or throw a greatest. I'm not really sure of the argument here, but I've been wrong before.
And you'll be wrong again, Keith.
We don't know that. What, you want to talk about wrong again, things going wrong again for this tough offense. Sames deflects the disc out of bounds, but now some conversation ensuing. Texas players pointing at each other. Let's listen in.
Six is saying that there was a foul on the upline cut. I don't have it, so I'm watching the thrower.
So the call is a foul on the upline cut. Didn't look like the upline cut being impeded is what was responsible for that turnover.
Look at the ruling.
Ruling is
came
here.
back into me, that's where all the contact occurred. I was underneath of you,
And
which
when I
is
left, you don't think you fouled me or grabbed my arm in the wall?
at that point,
That's
when
what it felt like.
So to be entirely honest, you actually kind of roasted me. You came into me, and I was off balance. And
Okay, gentlemen, so we have three options. You, the observer.
I'm gonna go to you on this one.
Okay, so the observer ruling is we're going to send it back. We didn't have a clear look at the foul call, so we're going to treat it as if we weren't here. It'll come here, count +1. I know what that count is.
So the disc going back, NC State can't be too happy about that.
I mean, that feels like a bailout, we turned it over call. I'm not going to sell it short here. We've seen a lot of calls in this past couple points as this game has gotten really close, and it definitely feels a little ticky-tack. Players trying to make sure they get every edge, and nobody wants to lose possession of the disc. So Texas now still with it, under pressure as the stall count climbs, and just a blade shot out, but it's stall call back at the throw, so field position up for grabs here based on this call.
Now, if you're NC State, I guess you would rather have it up where the stall call is, without question.
I'm going to agree with your conclusion.
Okay, so it's here, turnover. Injury! All right, does White need a sub? Hey, Bailey! NC State's disc going this way.
NC State, I'd be shocked if Bailey Liberto is not subbed in here, as play almost resumed before the sub came in, and Liberto looks over and says, "You're sending me in, right?"
Good. All right, are we good?
Ahmad coming in for Texas, taking the place of Rue. Gresh picking up with a chance to send NC State to the pre-quarters with this huck. It's a jump ball and knocked away. Does seem like the recipe here is make sure that we don't give them a short field. Let's take as many looks at the end zone as possible and make Texas have to go upwind.
Texas have shown no ability on this line to work the disc upwind.
Chambers picks up. Ahmad holding and tries that inside flick you praised him for, and it is blocked. Deflected a couple times for a little drama, but Liberto picks up. Lynch
eyeing the hammer, but electing to call the timeout instead.
Which would you rather see if you were his coach?
Really two drastically different options there.
So Lynch going to take a pivotal timeout. These are going to be tense huddles, but this timeout is presented by Disc Store.
And we've acknowledged that Texas doesn't have anything at stake in terms of the pool, where they'll finish in the pool, where they'll be in the bracket. But you can tell that they care about this game, and they're getting frustrated right now. They're getting frustrated about their inability to put the disc in, be the team they want to be, but they have an opportunity to make that happen here.
And as mentioned, this timeout is presented by Disc Store. But this is you can't really say anything more than what we've said about how important this point is. Texas certainly playing like there's something on the line. I mean, they could just roll over if they really felt like it, right? Depends on how much they like Michigan, I guess.
They're playing like they really like Michigan.
Disc checked in. Lynch Liberto trying to fight up line, well defended by Bowman, but NC State able to go all the way around to the opposite sideline and switch fields. Gresh, high release forehand, tries to tuck it into that back corner. And there, maybe staying too aggressive as Gresh turns it over for the third time on this point.
Trying to hit the fadeaway game winner there instead of going to the bucket.
So another opportunity for Texas to force a double game point. Bowman going across the field. High throws being saved. That time it's Edblom with the disc. Now Bowman resets to Ahmad. And now deep shot from power position, and Bowman frustratedly slaps the turf, knowing that did not come out how he intended. So Liberto making a distinction about where the disc should come in. Keeping this game about as chippy as it has been for the past couple points.
The wind's been a factor this game, but it has really picked up on this point. What a hand block. Asher, that's the second big hand block he's gotten in the past few points. He saves possession near the cone.
Around break, floaty jump ball situation, a lot of contact. We'll see what the outcome is here.
It looked like Bowman had a good line on that disc.
You're not contesting. All right, no contest. It's going to be your disc. Make it live, and you'll walk to the front. As soon as you make it live, all right, you can move. 20 seconds.
Unusual in this situation, given the tenor of this game, to see an uncontested foul, but a pleasant surprise, I would say. Bowman now, high stall, timeout.
Just some atrocious cutting there from Texas out of the vert stack. 3 players all dancing in the same 5x5 square. Good use of the timeout by Bowman.
Yeah, a timeout, a necessity there. This timeout presented by DiscStore.com. $30 full sub jerseys still available.
Are you rushing players to go get them before the end of the game like you were at half, or do you
No,
think they have something else
that was a one-time challenge. They're still available, and so is a spot in the bracket for NC State. Second place belongs to Texas. But for NC State, I mean, I think that the last time they made the bracket, I could be misremembering, but I might have been the year they won the national championship.
So like
2000.
1842 or something?
I have to check back in my history. I'm going just from memory. I'm sure Twitter will correct us, but let's go back and look at this hand block by Asher. Gets Liberto again. You mentioned him being able to sit on that forehand. He was waiting for it.
And this is that diagonal vert stack you've talked about. Texas runs in the end zone.
This time, I mean, it is foot on the goal line right now for Bowman. And an easy break side throw with the stall count as high as it was. It's pretty remarkable that they got off such an easy option.
Observer ruling, disc is up. Valsaraj digs it. Texas scores it. And now NC State has 1 point to save their season.
An upwind point, no less. Well, a second ago, it felt like all the pressure was, I mean, the pressure's always been on NC State, but the pressure to win this game was on Texas, having to go upwind and score twice, but now NC State has to go upwind to save their season.
The tension is almost as thick as the humidity. NC State takes that long walk back down the field.
And they subbed in Liberto, so Liberto has just been running around for a couple minutes. But like you said, his style, not necessarily the most exhausting at times, but I got to go back to that mark. I don't know. How do you give up just a free around forehand to the easy, shallow breakside space coming out of that timeout?
Low-key heat stroke.
I mean, I think that if you look at maybe the 3 times in a row that they've run that slant stack, the first time they threw the wide around, second time they actually hit the inside. Maybe that second time was in the defender's mind. Got to make sure to sit on that inside lane. But Bowman pivots around. This all had to be 7 or 8 or something like that, right? But Bowman staying on for double game point. And one team season on the line as there's a spill at midfield. Clean up in aisle 3. But NC State under pressure. Liberto, deep shot. Well struck. NC State approaching a season-saving score, but it's bobbled and dropped. Paul James cannot hold on to it. Now NC State will have to get a block.
Texas with 70 to go here.
And NC State gets the turn. Chambers' throw too far for a bidding armor. And Bailey Liberto directing traffic as he's hoping to send NC State to the pre-quarters. Liberto's around backhand, hangs in the air. Schumacher trying to claim that he was pushed out of bounds.
You can tell him the rule.
If contact caused you to land out of bounds after you thought.
Then that's our call. It's an active call.
I know, but I'm just
Yep.
letting
I
him
think. I understand what you think. I saw everything. It was right in front of me. It was a great play. Unfortunately, you weren't going to land in bounds no matter what happened. So, okay. Are you calling a foul?
I mean, would it make a difference?
No. Okay. 20 seconds. Make it live.
Well, honesty from the observer.
Honest, efficient observing that we've all been clamoring for, to be honest.
So Liberto's around, leaves something to be desired, and Bowman's going to make sure they don't give up another short field with a huck to Chambers, and the freshman lets it go. One good drop deserves another.
Good Lord.
The crowd thirsts for blood, Pat, and they're getting it.
At first, I was shocked that there was no travel call on that Chambers heave. Excuse me, Bowman's heave, and then the freshman Chambers maybe just didn't get a good read on it.
Now the other way is Schumacher. Into the middle, and a layout block from Valsaraj. Charlie Eisenhood called it the spark for Texas. Short field, Bowman, high release. Armour bobbles it. And it's a goal. That's it. Texas stays second. And they spoil the comeback of NC State.
The emotional arc that NC State went on in this game is like a Greek tragedy. From despair early in the game to the heights of triumph when they finally got that lead at the end. So many chances to get the break that would win them the game, and then to have 2 points in a row scored on them in that fashion is just, it's why we watch the sport.
Heartbreaking loss for NC State. Texas putting it on the line with their crowd in attendance. And look at Valsaraj making what you got to think is the play of the game.
Has to be. The graduate coming up big. And then that high release backhand that we saw Texas hit on in the first half comes back to them. Valsaraj swooping in for the block, and then another bobble for the goal.
Really a thrilling finish to pool play here in Round Rock. Michigan advances. NC State eliminated by Texas on their home turf. Curious to see if in the bracket having to dump all this extra energy for Texas could cost them in pre-quarters. I mean, I'm not trying to rain on their parade or anything.
Well, they're only playing Wisconsin, so that won't be too much of a physical toll for anybody.
Yeah, no, the Hodags really like to take it easy on you, but we'll be back for the pre-quarters round here in Round Rock, a 14-13 thriller between Texas and NC State. NC State with the incredible second half comeback. And this finishes in dramatic fashion. Just to give you a status update, our pre-quarter will be at 5:15 p.m. local time, so that is pushed back a half hour from the 4:45 scheduled date. So we will see you there. Don't miss it. 5:15 p.m. pre-quarters.